a perspective on a new push in Albuquerque's rental market. Over the last month, I've spoken with people all around the issue of rent control and rent stabilization, as it's known as. In October, I talked to City Councilor Tammy Feiblecorn about a memorial she introduced that would have urged the state to reconsider its ban on rent control. Now, ultimately, it did not pass, but now there's a new action on the state level. At an event this Saturday, State Senator Linda Lopez will announce a new bill to repeal the state's ban on rent control in the 2023 session. Now, with the rents spiking over the last year, many see it as a tool to keep housing affordable, specifically in Albuquerque. But apartment and rental owners say the situation isn't that simple. Shortly after Councilor Feiblecorn's memorial was voted down, I spoke with Executive Director of the Apartment Association of New Mexico to understand their point of view on this issue. Thank you very much for joining us. By the way, obviously your testimony during City Council in early October kind of caught my eye first off. So let's talk about just rent control in general. From your point of view as the ED for the Apartment Association here in New Mexico, why was a rent control scheme a non-starter for you folks?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that the reality is that, when we look at rent control policies, we have good and bad. We have lots of other places to look, and the reality is that it may sound good, especially when there's times of high rent increases and stuff like that. Of course, this last year's been high everything for that matter. But the reality is, and the economics of it is really where the crusher is, and where it kind of plays out, and what we've seen across the country is, number one, it stops development. Obviously, the city has this big push as far as building more housing. We want more housing. We want more developers to do business here. 87% of developers say they will not develop in a place that has rent control.
Wow.
Another thing is that it stops the remodeling and redevelopment of properties, and so and that goes into kind of to your point, as there are some aging product around town. There's a lot of apartment communities that are in need of remodels and stuff like that. When you put a cap on rents, that basically limits an owner's ability to recoup investment, and it really stops that remodeling and redevelopment. And about 50% of our multifamily here in Albuquerque was built before 1980.
Right.
Another kind of unintended consequence is it actually lowers rental inventory, and we've seen this happen all across the country. And the way that, I know it kind of sounds like a weird concept, but on the single family home side, you have a great real estate market like this last year where home prices have gone, we're still up 20% year over year on home prices. Homeowners start looking, hey, rather than cap my incomes, I can just sell this property for, these increased values. Another thing that we've seen across the country is they take apartment communities and turn them into condominiums, and then they're sold off as single family, product basically. And so you actually lose housing inventory, or rental inventory, I should say, through rent control or through rent control. But and most importantly, it stops investment in New Mexico. When you don't have the new developers coming here, you don't have people who want to build housing. It really limits our investment. And being a city that we want to grow, we've had some great opportunities lately. We've had say big names like Netflix or Facebook, or Intel's doing a bunch of new jobs, and we want to create this environment where we've got housing and we've got people, and without the ability to build more housing, it really limits that.
There's a lot of renters here, as if I got to tell you. If it ever came to a referendum vote here, what do you think would happen in a situation like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the hardest part when you put something like that to the voters is the educational process.
Right.
And we've seen it in past things. I'll go back to, I think there was a school board vote that went out to renters. It had to do with a very slight property tax increase, and everybody voted against it because they didn't want their property taxes to go up. But the reality is that money was being spent on your air conditioners and the upkeep of the public schools, and there wasn't that education process. And so I think that if more people really understood the economics and how this impacted the industry, I think more people would vote against it. I think that it's, I hate to call it a feel-good policy, but it is. It's when you say, hey, look, my rents are going to be capped at 3%, for the next however, for in perpetuity, it sounds good. It does. But it's that educational process to say, hey, look, your apartment may not get the upgrades that it needs. Your rent, while it may be capped at 3%, you're going to see that, or 3 or 5 or 7 or 10 or whatever they decide. You're going to see that increase every single year. Where in reality, and when we look at New Mexico, when we pulled the last like 21 years, actually, Albuquerque in the last 21 years has only seen an annual rent growth of about 2.5%. And that includes the last 2 years or less, I guess, basically we're going on 3 now, but
Sure.
it includes this last big, bump. So we've just seen this little blip over the last 2 decades in Albuquerque. And so I think that, it's a lot of times we try and create policy around something that's immediate need and it's immediate action. But the reality is too, is that rent control doesn't make your rent cheaper. I mean, unfortunately, if it's not affordable yesterday, it's not going to be affordable tomorrow. And that's another thing that I think that people, don't realize is that it doesn't necessarily make anything cheaper. I mean, the rent increases have already happened.
Interested in your thoughts on what you just mentioned it a second ago. What is behind the spike in rent increases here from your point of view, from the Apartment Association of New Mexico?
Yeah, so I think, obviously the biggest thing is we're looking at a supply and demand issue. You
Okay.
go back all the way to about 2008, really when the markets crashed and everybody quit developing, happened all over the country.
Yeah.
Since then, when we look at it, really in the last decade, we haven't produced more than 400 rental units a year ever. I mean, there's a couple years. In fact, there was even a year that we lost apartment community because a building was knocked down.
Wow.
And so, it's kind of hard to project, supply and demand issues. Albuquerque in general has not seen big population growths, but you throw in things like the real estate market for this last year. Like I said, even today, we're still up 20%. Those folks that I mentioned were there, maybe they were renting a place and, the owners decided to sell it. Now they're looking for an apartment. So we saw this crazy supply and demand. And we actually, in 2020, we hit one of the lowest vacancy rates really on record in Albuquerque. And so that, like I say, it goes back to that whole supply and demand thing. Obviously, supply is short, demand goes up, increases prices. That's one thing that changed it. The other thing is flat out inflation. When you look at your air conditioners that used to cost $400 now cost $700. Your labor costs that you may used to be a fixed cost. Your employee costs, even at these bigger apartment communities, it's become harder to hire people, so it's increased costs.
One of the interesting things that I find about apartment life, and I grew up back east where there's lots of apartments, it's a vertical city. We're a little bit different here, but there is an interesting density opportunity here, it seems to me. I talked about this with Councilor Fiebelkorn back in the middle of October before she made her memorial. And that I'm curious from your point of view, is that same sort of opportunity out there as far as your point of view, meaning you guys can really stir the pot here a little bit when you really think about it. If you place certain buildings in certain places that have a certain amount of stories and a certain amount of people, you could really turn the dial on a neighborhood for retail, for restaurants, for walkability, transportation. You guys are kind of a critical link in this whole building of a city thing here. Is this something you guys talk about actively in the association?
Absolutely. And I think that that's one of the things, and, we've worked with the city before, and I know the developers do. And, it all really comes down to planning. The reality is too, is it's not like Albuquerque's full of empty lots laying around where we can just build apartments everywhere, right? We're landlocked. We're essentially, unless you go towards the west side, there's not a whole lot of opportunity. Of course, a lot of people want to live in the Northeast Heights. And so it's definitely something that we talk about and we look about. And we've got some developers that have been utilizing some great spaces. And like I said, we've got a lot of, if you look around town, there's a lot of construction cranes up right now. And so the momentum is here.